Hey everybody, how you doing today? That's terrible. Let's start that over again. Good morning everyone. Today we are going to be working on the Buick GS. Now we do have quite a bit to get done today, and it's not going to be over one video, it's going to be over multiple. But in this episode we are going to go ahead and we're going to remove all the spark plugs, which means pretty much digging apart the whole top end of the engine. We're going to remove the old carburetor because, as I was showing you, it's totally seized up, and we do have this older Edelbrock right here, which isn't perfect and it doesn't run very well. I don't know if the innards are pretty much shot or what, but at least we can use this to start the engine for the first time. Now, before we start the engine for the first time, or attempt to start the engine for the first time, we are going to fill each one of the cylinders up with some Marvel Mystery Oil. And then once it sits for a little while, we'll drain some of the oil out because the engine is totally full of oil. And we're going to try hand cranking the engine just to make sure it's not seized. We're going to take off all the belts, pieces. A lot of this stuff's going to have to be replaced anyways. So even if the engine does start up, you know, the power steering pump's no good. The air conditioning is really no good. The alternator's probably no good, but we have to get all the stuff off just for me to access a lot of it anyways. And so there's a mixed consensus about if this is or is not a 455. I guess behind the starter there should be a thing that actually says what it is. So today we will see if we can't get up there and look. If we can't see it, then we'll have to take the starter off, which I'm hesitant to do. But you know, I am very curious and I want to solve that debate right now. So without further ado, let's dig into this car. Okay, now that I'm gonna have to have one of my buddies come up and see if that's got any pressure in it, but that pulley is completely seized. It's not going anywhere. So we're definitely gonna have to get a different AC condenser in order for us to make this still have air conditioning. But I have freed up enough space for me to be able to reach the funnel down, which I want to point out the best way to use a funnel for this type of situation, and this was actually a recommendation from one of my buddies, is use a little bendy one. So you can get it right down inside there and pour it right in there. The other thing we're going to do is I'm going to pour a little bit of that PB Blaster stuff right on those bolts because they don't look like they're going to want to move. I also noticed that the fuel looks like it comes in through the front, what is awesome. Not a big deal, but the carburetor that I'm going to put on goes on the other side. And it does have a vacuum advance as far as the distributor goes. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure that's no good. I mean, we're going to get rid of the emission stuff anyways. But, oh yeah. She's crusty underneath there. So I'm going to finish, oh, there's that nut right there. I'm going to finish vacuuming up in here so that when I take the carburetor off and other stuff, that it's not going to fall right on inside there. So, other than that, I do have to point out so far that the valve covers do look deeper than the standard 350, and that's one of the big differences, and it does look wider than a standard 350. So it is looking like this is a 455. Sorry for my ignorance about GM engines. she's definitely wider than a regular 350. All right, so let's keep digging into this. It's finally starting to get warmer too, which I'm very happy about. All right, here are the 4 spark plugs from the passenger side, and other than the fact that they're really gruddy on the outside, but that's because I had to use PB Blaster to get them to get going. But they were nice and sealed. I didn't see any issues. It looks like the engine was running very rich. I don't know why that would be. Haven't gotten to that point yet. But here are the driver's side ones. And the only thing that concerned me about the driver's side one, I don't know how well you can see it in the shade here, but cylinder 1 and cylinder 4 on this side, on this bank, are they're kind of corroded inside the cylinder. So I'm going to go charge up the bore scope. We're going to stick that down inside there and see what the condition of the cylinders are before we fill them with the mobile mystery oil. All right, the bore scope is charged. This is the one. I'll put the link down below. I've had it for about a year. I don't know if they still make this particular one or not, but it was like 35 bucks off Amazon. It does a good job. It only has 5 megapixels, which is fine, which you're for inside of a cylinder. You're not trying to make, you know, huge design off of it, so who cares? You're just trying to make sure that conditions of the cylinders are good. It's crazy long, so I don't know what else you could use it for, but the other benefit of it is it's designed to be focused really up close. So we're going to go ahead and, actually it's getting a little colder as we go through the day, but so I threw my sweater back on. Anyways, let's go ahead and stick this in there. We'll make sure that I label each little video, and so you guys can see, I'll insert the videos right now. All right, and I don't know if I've already said this or not, but I can now officially confirm that this is a 454. Those heads are off of a 454. So whether or not this is a stage 1 or not is a different story, but you know, this is in fact a 454. Guys, I want to get this thing to run. And now, as you can see, the cylinders I would like to see if I can get a little bit of a vacuum on that with a little bit more precision, because they do look like they have a little bit of scale inside there from corrosion over the years. And if I can suck those out, or that out, and then pour that stuff in there, we might be in a better situation. So the next part of today will be filling those up after I try vacuuming out a little bit more, and then I'm going to go ahead, take the carburetor off, put the new carburetor on. We're going to let it sit like this with the stuff in there, because the first two cylinders in each of the fronts, the first two cylinder in both banks, they're very questionable. So we want to make sure that we're giving this the best chance for success. Otherwise we might be looking at a full rebuild of this engine. I would like to keep this engine in here, honestly. I'm not the biggest fan of carburetors, but you know, Holley makes some really nice EFI carburetors. Maybe we can go that route, because it's a 455. Guys, this is one of the most like stout engines of its time. So, I mean, it's looks like I pulled it from the bottom of an ocean. But if we can get this thing going, oh man, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear what it sounds like. I've never heard of 455 in person. I mean, I've heard them on YouTube, but I've never heard of 455 in person. This is going to be a treat. Guys, let's keep digging into this. I'm getting more and more excited as we go. Oh, I can't believe we have a real 455. Let's do this. Actually, I just remembered that this particular funnel, this unscrews from it, so I'll be able to stick this right into the cylinder and see what we can get out of it. Well, I mean, I won't be able to see because it's going to get sucked into the shop vac, but yeah, I'm glad I remembered that. All right, let's do this now. All right, now that we have the Motor Marvel mystery stuff, which, by the way, I got this from Advance Auto. I think it's like $6 or something, $7. You obviously don't need nearly as much as I was expecting, so I have a whole nother one for the next project car. It also doesn't, it really doesn't take nearly as much, so I did spill a bit. But yeah, the next thing we're going to work on today is pulling that old carburetor off and putting the older, well, newer old carburetor on, which is sitting up there. I do have issues with that carburetor, but at least we'll get it to the point where we can try starting it, because this is, I mean, it looks like it came out of the Marianas Trench. It doesn't move at all. So she's I don't even think a rebuild kit will solve that. I think that's going to go right in the garbage. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the feed fuel line off this, because I have a little hookup or setup that my grandfather made me a long time ago, and it'll just direct feed the fuel requirements with gravity. So I can't believe just, oh, I got it to move. Oh boy. Yeah, no, that's going in the scrap pile. All right, guys, let's get this, I don't know, this piece of crap off and see what it looks like inside the intake manifold. I'm also curious to see what kind of intake manifolds I can get for a 455 and what other kind of performance parts. I know it has equal length headers on it, which is super dope. For you that have not been, you know, in the 90s or something, dope is it's a very 90s thing to say, I suppose. So anyways, let's get that off and see if we can get it off. All right, now that we got the old one off and I vacuumed it out, she's not terrible. Definitely was running very rich. Just look at the buildup of carbon on this thing. So I don't see why it wouldn't fit the new carburetor. So let's go ahead and drop that on there. I'm not going to try starting her up today. I'm not even going to try hand cranking her today. That will be saved for the next episode. So until the next time, I'm going to leave you guys with me installing this. Remember, if you like the content, please like, share the content, and subscribe. It helps the channel quite a bit. I do have merchandise for the projects we have had and ongoing projects. But this project is, I'm so excited about this car that we're just going to dig into it. We're just going to do it. And remember, if you buy the t-shirts, like the pickup truck t-shirt is our official logo, it really helps the channel out. All right, guys, if you're still around on this episode, you just watched me struggle putting this carburetor on, and I did not succeed. So, yeah, does not fit on this engine. No matter what I do, she's hitting in different spots. I don't know if I can get, if I get an extension to get this on here, it's going to hit the hood. So I'm going to have to source a different carburetor, and they're not cheap. So that's going to delay us starting this engine up, which is quite the disappointment. But I'll see what I can do to find one that will even fit. Maybe I'll have to get a different intake manifold. I can't make it go any higher because, once again, the hood's in the way, and I don't want to cut this hood up. So that's just not going to happen. Oh, we're going to have to figure this one out. Yep. But we will. We will, absolutely. And we have a lot of other things we got to take care of on the car, this being one of them. But it is what it is. So I'm gonna seal this up and clean up the engine bay so I can put all this tools away and get to work on the next part of this project. Guys, thanks for watching. Take care.